People don't just disappear in national parks. They vanish. No footprints, no struggle, no trace. And what if those disappearances are not random?
All right. Relax there, Sherlock. People get lost in the woods. It's not supernatural. It's called stupid humans.
Oh yeah? Well, then explain this. Search dogs track a scent, and it just stops. Not fades, stops, like the person vanished mid-step.
Well, that part I ain't figured out yet. So please proceed, human.
Thought so. So tonight, we're going to explore an entirely different angle on the missing 411. So stay tuned, because this theory makes things more sinister. Most people look at missing 411 as a collection of strange, isolated cases, unfortunate disappearances in dangerous environments. The term itself comes from the work of David Paulides, who spent years documenting patterns across these incidents. But the deeper you go into those patterns, the harder it becomes to see them as coincidence. Because when you step back and stop focusing on individual stories, you start to notice that the same elements keep repeating over and over again. These disappearances tend to happen in very specific environments: dense forests, mountain ranges, areas with large granite formations, and locations near bodies of water. They often occur quickly, sometimes in a matter of seconds, with witnesses nearby who insist the person was just there moments before. And when search teams arrive, they frequently encounter something that investigators themselves admit is unusual: a complete lack of physical evidence. No clear direction of travel, no consistent scent trail, and in some cases, items like clothing or personal belongings found in places that don't make sense.
Or maybe the outdoor elements played a role. Did you ever consider that? Mr. Tinfoil Hat Schmuck.
That would explain some of it, but it doesn't explain why trained search dogs, animals specifically used to track human scent, will follow a trail and then suddenly stop, as if it was cut off. It doesn't explain how someone could be found miles away, sometimes uphill, sometimes in terrain that would be extremely difficult to reach, especially in the condition they were last seen. And it definitely doesn't explain why many of these cases seem to cluster in the same types of locations. And that's where a different way of looking at things begins to form. Not as random disappearances, but as events happening with defined areas, places where something else might be going on. And what if these aren't just wilderness areas? What if they are zones? Not officially recognized, but still very real in terms of where these patterns occur. Locations where normal rules don't seem to apply in quite the same way. And once you start looking at it through that lens, something interesting happens. Other phenomena start to line up with the same areas. Reports of cryptids, for example, often come from the same types of environments. Large, humanoid figures, seen moving between trees, watching from a distance, disappearing almost as quickly as they are noticed. These sightings are usually dismissed, but what stands out is how similar the descriptions are across different regions and different witnesses who have never interacted with one another.
Holy crap! This makes me friggin' sick! This punk Bigfoot seems to be everywhere these days.
Well, maybe not everywhere, maybe just some places of containment. And what if the disappearances happen in those contained zones specifically? Then there's the idea what some researchers call thin points, locations where reality itself might not be as stable as we assume. In multiple cases, witnesses describe a sudden shift in the environment just before something goes wrong. The forest goes quiet, no birds, no wind, no ambient sound at all. Then comes disorientation, confusion, sometimes an overwhelming sense of fear with no visible cause. It's almost as if the person stepped into a different version of the same place.
Look here, guy. Bigfoot I can tolerate. UFOs I can deal with, but now you're talking portals. This is where you lose me, pal.
I know it sounds extreme, but it would explain something that otherwise is very difficult to account for: how someone can disappear without leaving any trace, and in some rare cases reappear somewhere that doesn't logically connect to where they started. It would also explain why the environment itself is often described as behaving differently in those moments. And then there's a third element that shows up in the same conversations: UFO sightings. Remote areas, especially forests and mountain regions, have long been associated with reports of unexplained aerial phenomena. Lights moving silently, objects hovering over tree lines, movements that don't match any known aircraft. In some cases, these sightings are reported around the same time or in the same area where people go missing.
Let me get this straight. According to this theory, you have cryptids, portals, and UFOs all sharing the same map?
Well, that's exactly the point. On their own, each of these things can be dismissed or explained away. But when they start appearing in the same locations under similar conditions, it raises a different kind of a question. What if these aren't separate mysteries? What if they're all connected? This is where something known as the containment theory comes into play. The idea that certain areas may be known, or at least at some level, to have unusual activity. That whatever is happening in those locations is either being monitored, avoided, or in some cases, quietly contained. Not necessarily controlled, but recognized.
Contained by who?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, pal. Some believe it points towards government awareness, the idea that these areas are studied but not publicly acknowledged. Others think it might be something more natural, places where environmental or geological factors create a condition we don't fully understand yet. And then there's the possibility that whatever is happening in these areas isn't fully under control at all. Because if containment were real, it wouldn't be perfect. There will be gaps, moments where something crosses over or where someone enters a space they weren't supposed to be in. And when that happens, the result might look exactly like what we see in these missing 411 cases. People disappearing without a trace. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's episode. If you enjoyed hanging out with us, please hit subscribe, like, and drop your comments below. And let us know if you want Mr. Bear to go hiking in the Appalachian Trail.
See, now you're just being goofy. The only contained zone I'm entering is this damn couch.
You're definitely smarter than you look. As always, I'm your host, Adam. That's Bear. Until next time, be good or be good at it.